Peace, everyone. How you doing? It's the 5 o'clock hour, the drama hour over here on Israel Doctrines Entertainment Google Hangout, and we're going to start it off with this cut right here.
Our government has a firm policy not to capitulate to terrorist demands. That no concessions policy remains in force. In spite of the wildly speculated and false stories of our arms for hostages and alleged ransom payments, we did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages. Nor will we.
The ballad of the bullet, some freedom or some bullshit. Will we ever do it big or just keep settling for little shit? We brag on having bread, but none of us are bakers. We all talk having greens, but none of us on acres. If none of us on acres and none of us grow wheat, then who will feed our people when our people need to eat? So it seems our people starve from lack of understanding, cause all we seem to give them is some ballin' and some dancing and some talking about our car and imaginary mansions. We should be indicted for bullshit we inciting, killing children deaf and pretending it's exciting. We are advertisements for agony and pain. We exploit the youth, we tell them to join the gang. We tell them dope stories, introduce them to the gang. Just like Oliver North introduced us to cocaine in the 80s when them bricks came on military plane.
A few months ago, I told the American people I did not trade arms for hostages. My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true, but the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
The end of the Reagan era. I'm like level 12, old enough to understand this shit had changed forever. They declared the war on drugs, like a war on terror. But what it really did was let the police terrorize whoever. But mostly black boys, but they would call us niggas and lay us on our belly while they fingers on their triggers. They bruise was on our head, they dogs was on our crotches, and they would beat us up if we had diamonds on our watches. And they would take our drugs and monies as they pick our pockets. I guess that's the privilege of policing for some profit. But thanks to Reaganomics, prison turned to profits. Cause free labor's the cornerstone of U.S. economics. Cause slavery was abolished unless you are in prison. You think I am Washington, then read the 13th Amendment. Involuntary servitude in slavery it prohibits. That's why they giving drug offenders time in double digits. Ronald Reagan was an actor, not at all a factor. Just an employee of the country's real masters. Just like the Bushes, Clinton and Obama. Just another talking head telling lies on teleprompter. If you don't believe the theory, then argue with this logic. Why did Reagan and Obama both go after Gaddafi? Invading sovereign soil, going after oil. Taking countries is a hobby paid for by the oil lobby. Same as in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Ahmadinejad say they coming for Iran. They only love the rich and how they load the poor. If I say any more, they might be at my door. Who the fuck is that? Staring in my window, doing that surveillance on Mr. Michael Render. I'm dropping off the grid before they pump the lid. I leave you with 4 words. I'm glad Reagan dead.
All right, everyone, that was Reaganomics by Killer Mike, Atlanta artist. Now we're going to get into the title of the show, the R.I.C.O by Khalil, Amani. Yes, people, it's a pretty fairly old video, but it's talking about a subject that I want y'all to hear about.
Hey, what's good, people? It's your boy Khalil Amani. Another quick video this morning. I'm sitting here. It looks like we're going to have snow in Denver today. Woo, you know I love snow. Coming from Miami, I don't like the heat. I don't like the heat year round. I thought I did, but you know, I enjoy these cold days. So. Anyway, talking about the R.I.C.O. You know, that word's been thrown around. R.I.C.O. this, R.I.C.O. that. The word R.I.C.O, R-I-C-O, R.I.C.O. Racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization is what it stands for. It is a federal government law that was created as a result of the mafia to bring in the big kingpins and bring them to justice. Because as you know, as with any big uh, organization, criminal organization, or religious cult that's doing criminality, it's never the head guy. It's never the John Gotti or the. I mean, I'm talking about once they become the kingpins, not what they did when they.
So is what is R.I.C.O? Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization. Do y'all know that that's going on YouTube right now? When y'all chose a cult leader to lead y'all cult, his name is Hassan Campbell. Sadnetta and Troy Star Terrain and others put him in position to run y'all racketeering influence corrupt organization on YouTube. Just to let y'all know, so when you hear some more information from this former CI from back in the 80s, you can comprehend and understand.
Coming up through the ranks. But it's never the John Gottis or the Yahweh Ben Yahwehs or the Malachi Yorks, the big guys. It's never the leaders that actually go out and kill people. No, it's always the underlings. They find people, that are willing to prove their loyalty to the organization or to the cult. And those people are commissioned to do criminality at the behest of the kingpin, at the behest of the cult leader or their criminal drug organization. So, I mean, there are some, low level. You talk about people like Alpo and those that kill, but he wasn't a kingpin. He was just a nigga in the street who made millions of dollars, who was still too stupid to get people, he was still killing, even though he had Wayne Perry and people like that. But I'm talking about big organizations, real organizations, like the mafia, or like, the situation I was with the Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Yahweh Ben Yahweh never killed nobody. He sends people out to do it. Once John Gotti became the Don, the Godfather, he didn't kill nobody. He had Sammy the Bull Gravano and people like that under him that went and killed people. So, yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, that's why the RICO Act was invented to get at people like John Gotti, people who could honestly say they never killed nobody, but they were the masterminds behind the murder. Now, let's talk about Bambaataa for a quick minute. People are talking about the RICO this and the RICO that. Let me explain to you why someone like Hassan Campbell would never be charged with a RICO. Because it's not Hassan Campbell who they want. If the government decides to get involved in this whole Africa Bambaataa debacle, the prize, the target will be Africa Bambaataa, not his underlings. Yes, Hassan made some incriminating statements. I was given a picture to go kill the boy. That's an incriminating statement. But is that enough to put him in a RICO case? No. So when people are out there talking about, Khalil Amani is in the RICO, Kay Slade's in the RICO, and all these people in RICO, they don't even know what the RICO is. You don't build RICO cases around underlings. You don't build RICO cases around the small fish. You don't build RICO cases around nobodies. You build RICO cases around the people who are at the head of the organization and a few of their underlings that are, the lieutenants. That's who, when they went at the mafia, they used John Gotti they used Sammy the Bull Gravano to get at John Gotti. That's why Sammy the Bull only did like 5 years for 20 murders or whatever. He had to pay. He wasn't getting off scot-free, but it wasn't Sammy the Bull Gravano that they wanted. They wanted to get John Gotti and bring down the mafia. And so, likewise, if the FBI, the federal government, decides to run a RICO case surrounding this Africa Bambaataa thing, they may bring in someone like Hassan Campbell, but he's not the prize. He's not the prize. They may use his statements against him that he was going to kill the boy, but that's not even that's a conspiracy possible, but it's not big enough. They would never, the government wouldn't spend their money. I said the government wouldn't spend their money on dealing with Hassan Campbell for saying some in the moment heated words about his loyalty to the big fish and what he would do to a guy for hurting the big fish. They want Bambaataa. So all this talk about, this person's in the R.I.C.O, that person's in the R.I.C.O. Niggas don't even know what R.I.C.O means. Niggas don't know how R.I.C.O works. They're talking crazy. Let me give you an example too, as far as Khalil Amani is concerned. And I may do a video later after this showing you this part of my book. When I got in my car and drove down to the FBI office on Biscayne Boulevard in Miami, Florida in 1985, and then walked into the main office in the FBI and got on the elevator, went to the second floor, and went up to the window and asked that white lady, told her I want to speak with somebody. And she asked me what was it concerning, and I said, Yahweh. And she went away and brought back Agent Herbert Cousins, a brother, and he took me in his office and he debriefed me. And then I began to work for the FBI for the next 6-7 years, many man hours of debriefing and going over information and people and places and dates and things. I write in my book, and I'll show it to you probably in my next video, because when I was in the Yahweh cult, I wasn't totally innocent of the shit that was going on. I've never put on that I was. Even though I was a young man trying to live a religious life, trying to live a pious life, trying to learn my true identity as a Hebrew Israelite, trying to follow what the Bible teaches, trying to do the right thing. There were criminality everywhere present around me. I saw it. I even took part in some criminality. Like, for instance, the guy who was beheaded, Ashton Green. I was at the temple when he came that fateful day. I was in the lobby when we were talking to the guy. I walked with 10 or 11 other guys through the temple with this guy, and then I went to the side door to stand guard while the other 10 guys took him to the back of the temple and beat him, and subsequently put him in the trunk of a car, took him out to the Everglades and beheaded him. Could I have been charged? Yeah. I could have been charged under the R.I.C.O indictment. But I wasn't the big fish. The big fish was Yahweh ben Yahweh. And so I write in my book, the night before I actually walk into the FBI office, I write in my book, and I'll show it to you all, that I contemplated the fact that once I go to the FBI, I could. Hey, what's good, people? It's your boy Khalil Amani. Another quick video this morning. Office in the FBI and got on the elevator, went to the second floor, and went up to the window and asked that white lady, told her I want to speak with somebody. And she asked me what was it concerning, and I said, Yahweh. And she went away and brought back Agent Herbert Cousins, a brother, and he took me in his office and he debriefed me. And then I began to work for the FBI for the next 6-7 years, many man hours of debriefing and going over information and people and places and dates and things. I write in my book, and I'll show it to you probably in my next video, because when I was in the Yahweh cult, I wasn't totally innocent of the shit that was going on. I've never put on that I was. Even though I was a young man trying to live a religious life, trying to live a pious life, trying to learn my true identity as a Hebrew Israelite, trying to follow what the Bible teaches, trying to do the right thing. There were criminality everywhere present around me. I saw it. I even took part in some criminality. Like, for instance, the guy who was beheaded, Ashton Green. I was at the temple when he came that fateful day. I was in the lobby when we were talking to the guy. I walked with 10 or 11 other guys through the temple with this guy, and then I went to the side door to stand guard while the other 10 guys took him to the back of the temple and beat him and subsequently put him in the trunk of a car, took him out to the Everglades and beheaded him. Could I have been charged? Yeah. 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 I could have been charged under the RICO indictment. But I wasn't the big fish. The big fish was Yahweh ben Yahweh. And so I write in my book, the night before I actually walk into the FBI office, I write in my book, and I'll show it to you all, that I contemplated the fact that once I go to the FBI, I could possibly be indicted for that little scenario, even though I wasn't there, even though I didn't take part in the beating. No, I did not. But I knew about the beating. Even though I didn't take part in that guy's murder, I knew about his murder. I ran the risk of indicting myself for the murder of Ashton Green because I was in the building when it not when it went down, but when he came. But I talk about that in my book. But see, a lot of you Negroes don't read and you don't want to spend the $27 to buy my book. But I talk about that in my book, mulling over and contemplating that the very next day I was going to get up and walk into the FBI office in Miami. And that what I had to say could possibly get my own self arrested, indicted, and go away to the feds for many, many, many years. But my conviction to help bring down, to start the wheels of justice flowing, turning, to get this madman named Yahweh ben Yahweh off the streets of Miami, I was willing to risk my own freedom to bring about justice. And this is what these fuck niggas that want to carry the narrative on that I was arrested for drugs as a drug mule, and then I began to snitch on Yahweh ben Yahweh. No, go back and look at my previous video. I've already dealt with that. Didn't happen that way. But indeed, I was willing to give up my own freedom to see justice for myself, for my children, for Black Miami, and for Miami in general, through this thug who was masquerading as a religious leader named Yahweh ben Yahweh. And so my point is, with the RICO statute, if the federal government, if the FBI did not indict Khalil Amani for being in the same vicinity as a guy who was ultimately beat and beheaded, surely, without a doubt, they will never go at Hassan Campbell just for talking shit about what he was going to do. Yes, it's conspiracy, but the government doesn't work that way. Okay, so yeah, when YouTubers tried to put forth the theory that everybody's in the RICO, Khalil's in the RICO, K. Slay's in the RICO, Brother T's in the RICO, Star's in the RICO, Hassan's in the RICO, Eric B's in the RICO, just because people have knowledge of certain things, that's not what RICO is. People who find out about criminality and crimes, they're not in the RICO. RICO is the federal government, the FBI. The point of the RICO is to bring down kingpins. Go Google the word RICO. It's not about bringing down small fish and members. They may use those people. Hold on. So yeah, I had to move a little bit. So yeah, that's what the RICO is about. The RICO is about bringing down the kingpins They may use the little fish to get to the big fish, but in most cases, the little fish will get away with little jail time or no jail time. And again, I'm a prime example that if the federal government, if the FBI actually wanted to get at me, if the FBI were actually trying to get at me, they could have. Because, you know, well, no, they really couldn't because I actually asked the FBI. I asked them once I began to cooperate. You know, I told them about my involvement as far as me being there when this guy came to the temple, and then they took him in the back and beat him up. But I was there in the temple, and they told me no, that's not an indictable offense. They would never indict you for that. But you know, I'm 25 years old. I don't know the law, and I was thinking that because I was actually at the Yahweh temple when the guy came in, and I actually walked with them halfway back, and then made a detour while they continued on to the back, and then he was beaten, and then they brought him right past me. That I could have been, you know, indicted for that, but they said no. No. And the fact that I came forward of my own free will to tell them what was going on, they would never indict somebody like me. So when people talk about indicting and RICO, they don't understand the law. They don't understand that there's a lot of goddamn money on the line. They're not going after people like Hassan simply because he says, I was going to be the one to kill the boy. They would never indict him. And so that whole movement over there, that whole what happened to that boy, that whole whatever they're trying to do over there, is vanity. It's one man trying to insert himself into a big picture. He will never even get a footnote, the Arkansas guy. He will never even get a footnote into this story. They want Africa to bottom. Peace people.
So you see, he's talking about it and trying to cut me out and do me harm because he's a hater. He's a hater that Layla Will's a hater because I Star a hater, DJ K Slay, all these people was haters because I got involved and changed everything. No, they're not going to indict people just for that. But the criminal acts that Hassan Camel have did on YouTube from day one to the very day, the shooting in the Bronx, the this, the that, everything he done did, and all the money he done made, and all the money he done help people make on YouTube. Ron Savage, all of this stuff that's going on. But I got another one for you. Let's listen to this.
What's good, people? It's your boy Khalil Amani. It's a beautiful, but a little cool Saturday morning in the Midwest. As you can look, let me show you. That's the Rocky Mountains. It's beautiful. Don't tell me that Colorado and Denver ain't a beautiful place to live, because it is. Look at them mountains tonight. Snow-capped mountains this morning. All right. I just want to talk to you and address a few things. First, I'll let you all know that I did my first live last night. It was pretty fun, interesting. And I went ahead and I said, you know what? Let me see what this whole monetized thing is about. So I went over to the page, clicked on a few buttons, and it told me that I was eligible to be monetized because I have over 1,000 subscribers and I have over 4,000 hours of logged YouTube time being watched. 14,000 actually. So I went ahead and clicked the button. So if you start seeing commercials pop up my thing in the next month, I'm monetized. I'm getting monetized. Not that I need the money, but fuck it. Fuck it. I got a couple of videos that went over 50,000 views on before I was monetized. I got a video about me dyeing my beard 5 years ago. It's got like 60,000 views on it. If I had to monetize that thing, I would have made a little bit of money. But that's okay. I ain't pressed. I got a job and a career. But anyway, I want to address a few things going on in YouTube world. Around the whole Hassan Campbell thing. First, I want to talk to Israel Doctrine. He asked a question about the FBI and when they're going to step in, when they're going to bring a RICO case. One thing I'll say, as you all know, I'm a former federal informant with about 7 years working with the Bureau. So I know a thing or two about how they operate. And I'll say this Hassan, African Bambaataa, where that boy at, this case is fresh and it's new. I remember when I first walked into the FBI office back in 1986, Miami. I had so much information on the cult, Yahweh ben Yahweh. I thought that the day after I went in, they would raid them and bring Yahweh ben Yahweh down. That's how naive I was, you know. Well, I didn't think you'd do it the next day, but you know, you get my drift. I thought that very shortly they would come down on the Yahweh cult. 86 went by, 87 went by, 88 went by, 89 went by, 90 went by, 1991 damn near went by. In November of 1991, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka the FBI and ATF, finally raided the Yahweh group, seized their property, ran down on Yahweh ben Yahweh. He was in New Orleans at the time. Ran down on all of the top leaders. Ran down the place. I say that to say this. The FBI had information that Yahweh ben Yahweh was a murderer, an extortionist, a pedophile, all of the above stuff. For damn near 6 years before they actually made their move. And that's how it is when you're dealing with organizations like the Zulu Nation. Now, according to Hassan, we know that the FBI supposedly paid him a visit, some 5-6 months ago. Okay, so we can estimate that, we'll say 6 months ago when the FBI paid Hassan a visit, we can estimate that about 6 months prior to that, so we're talking about a year now, prior to that, that the FBI, that Hassan landed on the FBI's radar. So we're talking about a year. So Israel Doctrine, I know you want to see some shit happen, but shit just don't happen like that. They got to build up dossiers, files. They got to make sure when they bring a case, they got to do everything in their power to make sure that shit sticks. So sometimes it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, or in the case of the Yahweh Code, damn near 7 years to bring a case. And the Yahweh group not only had myself talking, had his sister talking. The FBI was talking to his sister, his stepchildren, nieces, nephews. They had real good intelligence on what was going on in Yahweh Code. And with all that good intelligence, it still took them damn near 7 years to finally bring down the Yahweh Code. So this whole Hassan, what happened to that boy, we're talking about a year that the FBI has been on the case. It's fresh. It's fresh.
Now, you got to take in count that they have been trying to kill that thing for 11 years now. Really like 9. Because it happened in 2013. But him and Kay Slade was too bitch to come out and say anything about it. So then 3 years later, Ron Savage, then her son Camel came out. 2016, 2017 is really when I got involved. And when I did it, it scared all of them. And Layla Wills was trying to murder me and all this shit that happened. But hey.
All this YouTube banter that's going on, it's all being documented right now. Everybody has a dossier. Everybody. It's a dossier. I have the thickest dossier in the world. But everybody in the conscious community has an FBI dossier now. Israel Doctrine, you got an FBI dossier. Sonetta got an FBI dossier. Star got an FBI dossier. Layla Wills has an FBI dossier. Hassan Campbell has a pretty thick FBI dossier. Everybody's on file now. So everything's being watched. And so things don't just happen when people think they should happen. I remember some of the people that were cooperating with Yahweh Ben Yahweh, with the FBI against Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I remember some of them getting pissed off at the FBI that they wouldn't move. And some of them actually turned against the FBI after giving statements to the FBI. And what did the FBI do with those people once they finally raided the Yahwehs? They made some of those people hostile witnesses. They even arrested some of those people who were cooperating with the FBI because clearly they had turned from cooperating to hide now and recanting statements. But it happened because they were getting fed up with the process taking too long. So this whole thing is a waiting game. It's a watch and wait. Just like with AR-AB. You know, they say he talked on Vlad TV, and he probably talked to some other places too. But they've been building cases. They build dossiers. It takes time. Some cases can come quicker, and some take years. Sometimes the evidence is so compelling and so powerful, they can swoop down on you in 6 months. But most of the time, the FBI does a nice, thorough job. And so, when we look at Hassan Campbell, and he says these things on YouTube, and then he says, I'm just playing YouTube. We just doing this for views. Hassan thinks that the FBI are stupid. Hassan doesn't understand that the FBI understands when you say certain things and then back up and say, I was just playing. I'm just doing this for YouTube views. They understand the coded language. They understand the language of the streets. They understand that when you say that, you're not playing. The only one that you're saving yourself from is the YouTube police. But you're not saving yourself from the FBI when you make a threat and then laugh and say, I'm just playing. I'm just doing it for YouTube views. That's just going to come back to haunt you. Trust and believe. And so, when Hassan makes these hypotheticals, the first hypothetical, even though he never used the word hypothetical, we talked about laying heavy dick to Kev Gill's son and daughter and the rest of his family. And then he comes back and says he's speaking hypothetical. Hassan, I know you've been to prison a lot, jail, but you don't know the law. You can get your ass arrested for hypotheticals. You can get your ass arrested for hypotheticals. You can be sentenced to 10 years for hypotheticals. Because when the jury hears the video and the audio of you saying, well, let me tell you what, Kev, let me find your son and stick heavy dick in him. What do you think a jury is going to say when they hear that? What do you think? Do you think the jury is going to not be biased? Do you think the jury is going to take that kindly? Do you think you might have a chance to explain the context in which you said it, but you said it? So what do you think the jury is going to do when they hear your so-called hypothetical? What do you think they're going to say when they hear you talk about taking super chat money and wanted to go and kill another YouTuber? What do you think a jury's going to say when they hear you talk about there will be blood in the streets of New York? What do you think he's going to say, the jury's going to say or think when they hear you talk about you can get some crackheads to go down and air out Sonetta's award show? What do you think? See, these statements will add up on your ass. You can keep saying it's hypothetical, but those hypotheticals will one day come back and bite you in your ass. Now, the most recent hypothetical. Now I'm talking to Miss Layla Wills. Love the sister. She's doing a documentary on Afro Nevada. trapped in the culture. And so she's gotten some airtime recently. Sarnetta TV interviewed her. And right after the interview, she did an outstanding job, I think, in stating her case, talking about her video, her documentary. And she did an outstanding case in basically defending Hassan's heavy dick remarks. I don't agree, but I think she laid a good case for him. And I think she represented Hassan quite well. And for that, Hassan should be proud of her and thankful that she did put his remarks in context. But what does Hassan do the same night? He trashes the sister. He shouts her out, and then he backhands her. He shouts her out, and then he backhands her. What do I mean by that? Well, he claimed that Miss Wills went over there to defend herself because people are talking shit about her and her documentary. So Hassan's point was, see, you're doing the same thing that I'm doing, because when they talking about me and I go off on these YouTubers, I'm defending myself. Now look at you. Look at you, Miss Wills. Look at you, Miss Wills. You're doing the same goddamn fucking thing as me. That was Hassan's point. Which, you know, Hassan's he's the kind of guy you just can't trust. After the beautiful display that Ms. Wills put on in defense of Hassan, this is what the nigga does. Mind-blowing. He doesn't play checkers, chess. He don't have no filter. He don't know when to hold them and when to fold them. You don't know. Even if you felt that was the case with Miss Wills, sometimes you got to stand down and take it on the chin and suck that shit up. Not this man. No, you spoke up for me. You spoke highly of me, but fuck you, Miss Wills. See, look at you. People exposing your dirty drawers, and you run over there and you want to defend yourself. Wow. Quite amazing. Moving on. Miss Wills, you gotta watch this guy. I could care less about whose side you're on and all that stuff and whatnot. But now, this dude, Hassan Poppy Campbell, implicates you again when he talks about the interview, because you interviewed over at what's his name's place, as opposed to going to Sarnetta's house to interview. Oh God, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me in a second. Because you didn't hold the interview at Sarnetta's place, Hassan goes on, Hassan goes on TV. It's cold out here. My brain is. Hassan goes on YouTube and puts another hypothetical out. Jabari, thank you. Because you interviewed over Jabari's house, which is where Sarnetta does a lot of his interviews, over at Jabari's house. I think they call it the Shrine of Ma'at. And he has a lovely space for interviewing. But you go on your channel and you say that Sarnetta was protecting himself by not having the interview at his house, but you want to do it at Jabari's house and put Jabari's life in danger. This is your hypothetical. And you got Miss Wills in your hypothetical. So then you say, what if I got Jabari's address from Miss Wills because she's loyal to you? That's what you're telling us. You're telling us that Miss Wills is so fucking blind and loyal to you that she would risk her freedom to give Sarnetta's whereabouts so that you can go over there and put a knot on Jabari and Sarnetta's head. Miss Wills, are you hearing what this guy is saying to you about you? He's putting you in a conspiracy. I mean, this shit is crazy. Like, sometimes, let me get around these cars, excuse me. I mean, if, yeah, get your dog. if Miss Wills really did give Hassan Jabari's address, and Hassan did go over there and do something to either of those guys, not only is Hassan in trouble with the law, but so is Miss Wills. And since he has put this hypothetical out there, he says it's a hypothetical. But look at the devious mind to even think of some shit like that. If Brother Jabari should fall and bump his head one day in the near future and die, they're gonna look at Miss Wills. If Brother Sarnetta should accidentally trip and fall into a manhole and crack his skull, or fall in the third rail of the New York City subway system, they're gonna look at Miss Wills, because Hassan has put it out there that he has power over Miss Wills to get the information needed to catch up with Hassan, with Sarnetta or Jabari. You gotta, like I said, I could care less about who likes who and who's running with who, but I'm just looking at it from the Midwest. The minute that motherfucker had put my name in a goddamn hypothetical, I'd have been on the phone, Miss Wills. Look at here, motherfucker. It ain't like that. You ain't my nigga like that. At least that's what I was. Take that fucking video down. Take that shit down. But this is what Hassan does. He deals in hypotheticals. His hypotheticals are the things that he would love to do. But he can't say he want to do them. He has to say, hypothetically speaking, or I'm just playing YouTube. See, but the mind is speaking. Most of the time when motherfuckers drink, the truth comes out of him. But Hassan know he be drunk. Sometimes he be drunk, but Hassan be telling what the mind really speaks. But he packages it up and gift wraps it in the label of hypotheticals. And so now, he done put Miss Wills in a hypothetical conspiracy to knock someone's head up or to kill somebody. I mean, the guy was mad at Sarnetta for doing the interview, not at his house, but at Jabari's house, as if that's a new thing that Sarnetta does. Sarnetta always does his videos, his sit downs at Brother Jabari's. But because Hassan's audience is ignorant to maybe Sarnetta's platform and what he does, they don't know that that's what Sarnetta does. It wasn't out of the ordinary for Miss Wills to be interviewed at Brother Jabari's house. That's the ordinary. The only other place that he interviews people is on 125th Street in front of the Harlem in front of the Apollo Theater. As a matter of fact, of all of Sarnetta's videos, I think I've seen one video of someone in his house interviewing him, having a conversation with, one time. Other than that, when he's at his home, he's on YouTube doing his live streams. But his interviews are generally done from Brother Jabari's house. But Hassan will go out and try to make it look like it was a plot to save himself and say, keep his family out of harm's way. And he didn't, and make it as though he doesn't trust Miss Wills with confidential information regarding Sonetta's whereabouts. He implied all of that. That Sonetta was leery of doing an interview with Miss Wills at his house. So let's go to Jabari's house. That was the implication. That's what can be extrapolated from the bullshit that Hassan puts out. Even though we know that Sonetta always interviews from Jabari's house. And so this is what we got. We got a man who befriends people, and if you become Hassan's friend on any level, business or whatever level, he will put you in his bullshit. And he has summarily put Miss Wills in his bullshit to get at Sonetta by claiming that hypothetically she would give up Sonetta's whereabouts if Hassan asked for him. Now, we have not heard, or at least I have not heard from Ms. Wills regarding that, but it looks hella crazy that a YouTuber is claiming that hypothetically having the power to ask you for someone's information so that he can go do something to them. You ought to clear that shit up because it's making you look hella crazy out here. Hella crazy out here. So, I don't know. I just thought I'd speak on it because it's just crazy. Like, Hassan, wow. Woo. My God. So, don't worry, people. What's good, people? It's your boy, Khalil Amani. It's a beautiful, but a little bit cool. And so you start talking about hypothetical. You could have even said regarding the so-called heavy dick, you could even told Kev Gills like this. Look, Kev Gills, imagine if someone came along and found your children at that age, 12, 13, and did those things that I'm telling you were done to me. That's all you had to do. But you, with your foul mouth, had to interject yourself into it and say, what if I did it? Now, in that statement also about laying heavy dick and Vaseline, in that statement, there's some telling information. Hassan claims that Bambaataa only gave him oral sex and thighed him. If Bambaataa only gave you oral sex and thighed you, why would you say, if you caught Kev Gill's children, that you would lay heavy dick to them and violate their anal cavities and with Vaseline? What can be extrapolated from that is that that's what happened to you. Even though you carry on the line that you never gave Bambaataa oral sex and that Bambaataa never penetrated you anally, so why would you say you would penetrate Kev Gill's children anally? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to come to the deduction that that's what happened to you, because you're trying to make an example of another man and let him know how bad you were touched and how bad you were violated. So you come and you indirectly tell us what Bambaataa did to you, that in fact, Bambaataa penetrated you anally. You've already told us that Vaseline was everywhere in the house, and that when dudes slapped five and gave handshakes, their hand was sticky with Vaseline. So we already know that Vaseline is a truism So that's what's up. But anyway, I'm gonna close this up. Khalil Amani is going to go into the live YouTube realm soon. And yes, I'm gonna be monetized. And that's what it do. But yeah, the FBI is watching. Israel doctrine, don't be dismayed. Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to bring a case, to bring a RICO case. But I assure you, they on the case. They're not gonna move when you say move. They're gonna move when they're ready to move. We're gonna wake up one morning. We're gonna wake up one morning and turn on the TV, and you will see it just like we saw ARAB. You will see it. Man indicted, Zulu Nation organizers, top Zulu members indicted, RICO. You will see it. They move in silence. They say G's move in silence. Fuck that. No, the government moves in silence. When they arrested Yahweh bin Yahweh, I had just had a meeting with the FBI the day before, and I had no clue that a fucking RICO case was about to hit the next morning and temples raided around the country. They keep that shit silent, even from us who are cooperating. They don't want nobody to know. So don't worry about when. This shit is new. This shit is only about a year in. It might be 3 or 4 years. But when you make the wrong move, and it might be because Hassan actually does go out and hurt somebody or kill somebody, or they may bring him in just because he said enough and done enough to be indicted. We just have to watch and wait. That's my word. Khalil Amani, and we have.
So people, now you hear that and you see how he was talking. See, he even said I was stalking Layla Wills. I went over to Kev Gill's show and I said that Layla Wills probably killed TC Islam because of what her son just said. If I want to bust Jabari and Sanetta's head, fuck them niggas up, Layla Wills will give me their address. I go to Jabari's house, because that's what she was said. She know the address. And I fuck them niggas up. Well, what you think about TC Islam? She interviewed him. A couple weeks later, they found his address and killed him. It don't take a rocket science. Don't take a rocket science. But with that, people, I'm going to play this joint and I'm up out of here. We started with Reaganomics. Now we're going to go to, yes, you guessed it. You guessed it right. Obamanomics.
You already know the motto. Rich niggas fly out. Wealthy niggas fly out. And no kidding. You broke ass niggas. Continue to walk it out. Horse that dog cannon. Oh yeah, we'll be a part 2, baby.
Back in the 80s and 90s, niggas was getting money. Bricks was 20. Shorties running around with the missiles on straight dummy. Them legs on them chickens was spreading like gin rummy. Dealing with a bad hand, but we dealt with it like a man. Got our fingernails dirty, we dealing it hand to hand. Never laid it to heart that the government had a plan. Shit, they let us on the plane with just Vaseline and Saran. So we assembled our 18s, hopping out of them vans. 5.0s and typhoons, the ghetto tycoons. Car booties got moist when them engines withdrawn. Should blame it on Ronald Reagan, he let all the cocaine in. Papa Bush was the head of the CIA then. One of his chemists made a mixture called crack. It attaches to melanin, so it's worse if you're black. Nancy Reagan waged the war on drugs. Translation in the ghetto, it's a war on us. Back then it was Reaganomics. 2 for the block. 36 months for a $5 rock. Mama's rent is 900, but it's 20 for my chain. The more things change, the more that they stay the same. It's Obamanomics. It's Obamanomics. Come on. It's Obama-nomics. Fast forward to 2012, we still in hell. OGs is dead, just coming home, but still in jail. It's like they coming to a new world, the aftermath of crack. A rapper owns a team, the president is black. Yet and still, most of us in the trap. The game's evolving, but most of us can't adapt. Back in 90, our troops invaded Iraq. 2012, Obama just brought them back. Back then, he was killing them in the lab. Now they act like you can't stun if it's under 100 racks. Weeds got no C's. Dro is the new hustle. It's a million CEOs. Every rapper is Russell. We eat McDonald's, wash it down with our Coca-Cola. Hopes of being rich, we do the lotto at the local store. You really ballin' or you really poor? Eating off the floor. We call this Obama-nomics. 2 for the block. 36 months for a $5 rock. Mama's rent is 900, but it's 20 for my chain. The more things change, the more that they stay the same. It's Obama-nomics. It's Obama-nomics. Come on. It's Obama-nomics. Look at it.